going to ask, okay, we are live for this voting session. Let me just explain to everybody what this is. Rather than take the committee off the floor to approve the amendments package, which is a committee amendment package, I would prefer for us to do this right here before we go to the floor. And so with that, Mr. Vice Chairman, if you could describe what the ENT floor amendment does to the Senate bill.
Sure. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. And this will be presented as just one amendment, but it has a number of different components in it. So I'll go through the summary of the different components. Amendment number 1 is technical. Amendment number 2 clarifies the definition of a covered building to include buildings owned by the state. Number 3 defines the term district energy. Number 4 adds a member to the Building Energy Transition Implementation Task Force.
And I think this is the thing that we voted for in the voting session that we had.
Yes, it's a tenant or tenant advocate representative who's added to the task force. Number 5 adds language to exclude from certain calculations greenhouse gas emissions or energy use by a food service facility that engages in commercial cooking and water heating. Number 6 strikes language in the committee amendments that would have required the state to adopt certain electric-ready building requirements for new buildings. Number 7 increases the state share of eligible school construction costs for schools built as net zero buildings. Number 8 strikes language that would have conditioned the requirements for the purchase of zero emission vehicles in the state fleet on the availability of funding. And number 9 changes a PSC reporting requirement from June 30, 2023 to September 30th, 2023. And move the amendments, Mr. Chairman.
Is there a second? Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. First question goes to Delegate Ruth.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chair. And I just wondered if you could explain Amendment 5. I followed most of them, but that one I didn't understand.
Yes, Delegate. So what that does is from the building energy performance standards that are to be adopted by the state, it excludes restaurants, basically. Technically, it's a food service facility that engages in commercial cooking and water heating.
Okay, so restaurants don't have to adhere to the building performance standards, is that right?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Delegate Otto.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have, what's the district amendment here that you're talking about, a district energy? Explain that a little better.
Sure. District energy is referenced in the building emission standards, building emission performance standards section of the bill, as specifically it says that the use of district energy systems by covered buildings, that regulation shall take into account any unique needs that they have. So we thought it would be helpful to define district energy. And so that definition is thermal energy generated at one or more central facilities that produce hot water, steam, or chilled water that then flows through a network of insulated underground pipes to provide hot water, space heating, air conditioning, or chilled water to nearby buildings. And these are the types of systems that many large facilities, including universities, use.
Well, that's my question. You're talking about campuses of some sort, or state penitentiary or things like that?
Yes.
Okay.
Next question goes to Linda Foley.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Can you explain why the electric ready provisions were removed? Where did that come from?
Well, let me explain that. There was a real feeling on the part of, first of all, there was a real feeling that it was coming in ahead of many of the studies, and that we just didn't have a good way to really know how the regulations for that ought to have been written. My view is that this is something that is really ought to be the subject of a separate bill next year, and we intend to write it, but we didn't want to do this this thing that turned out, the more and more we looked at it, the more complex the actual administration of that seemed to get. And it was in advance of many of the reports that we were being required. So we, in consultation with the Economic Matters Committee, decided it was the sensible course of action to just take it out this year. Yes, next question goes to Delegate Terraza.
Sorry, I'm having trouble going back and forth. Let me see if I can get to the other screen really quickly. So sorry.
Would you like me to go on to Jerry Clark and come back to you?
Sorry, I think I have it. Can you
Okay.
on number, thank you, Mr. Chairman, on number 7, if we could just explain, this is the county, the 5%,
Yeah.
which I understand, but is that limited to counties where the median income is in the bottom quartile of the state? I'm just trying to understand what that section means.
No, I don't believe so.
Okay,
Perhaps
that's
Kristen
a different section. Okay.
Right. Kristen, could you confirm I'm correct on that?
This is on Amendment 7.
Amendment 7, increasing the state.
I'm looking into it. If you want to go to the next question, and I'll have an answer for you in a minute.
Okay, let's go to Jerry Clark.
Just one quick question. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On the electric readiness, that was just stricken from the bill, or was it
Yes.
taken up by amendment?
This amendment takes it out.
Which amendment is it?
It is, which one is it?
6. Amendment 6.
6.
Amendment 6. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, Kristen, do you have an answer for Jen?
I do not. I'm sorry, Mr. Chair. This is not a bill that came through our committee.
Yeah.
So, I'm looking into that.
Okay, let's go to Delegate Ruth, Delegate Lehman, Delegate Learman, and then I would hope we could be able to vote since it's 2:53.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, for the second bite at the apple, just trying to go through this quickly and understand everything. So what was the reason for changing the date for the PSC study from June to September? And will that still give us enough time to prepare legislation for 2024?
Actually, the Senate really wanted to go back to December, and we really wanted to stay at June, and we split the difference. And we believe, I believe that, and Dana and I believe that if the report is done by September 30th, even if they delay and have it drag out into October, that will give us more than enough time to form policy for the 2024 legislative session.
Great, thank you.
Delegate Lehman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I was going to ask the same question, but if I could ask you this, do you feel, so it sounds like a split the baby kind of change from, the compromise between June and December, but if it seems that there is, intentional foot dragging, is there, have you communicated clearly that this cannot be a reason not to have legislation in 2024?
You bet. That was my argument in sitting with Economic Matters, and it will be my argument, and it's the argument we've made to the Senate. So yes, absolutely.
Okay, thank you. That's very helpful. Thank you.
Delegate Weigel.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So the bill itself is 72 pages. We had 47 pages of amendments. We have more amendments today. Is there a final version somewhere where we could actually read prior to a vote on this bill so we know what's in it?
Yeah, Kristen, you have, you've got a reprint already, right?
The reprint is drafted to the committee amendments. No, there is not a reprint updated with these new 4 amendments because they're drafted a little bit differently, where it wouldn't run in the reprint system. So the most up-to-date reprint is based on committee amendments.
And so that still wouldn't have these latest amendments in it.
It will not have the floor amendment incorporated into that.
It won't have what we're voting on right now, but I presume, Kristen, that by third reader, we'll have something that's completely updated. Will we not?
I can do that for you. That's not something that's generally done like in the system, but after, at some point we can combine the floor amendments into a reprint, but I maybe before tomorrow.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
All right.
And just, do you want me to, and then Delegate Terrasa's question about the application of the local cost share? The only thing, I mean, I have to look at is just the statute that we're adding. And this is the eligibility for these local cost shares is based on a county's median household income that is in the bottom quartile. So that's the section of the bill that we're adding. So the eligibility is specified there in statute.
All right. I'd like to go to a voice vote on this, as we do with amendments. Jen?
Just to clarify, so that means that this 5% is only available to the bottom counties that have median income in the bottom quartile?
That is correct.
Okay.
Okay.
And this is, I'm sorry, Mr. Chair, it was part of the bill.
No, go ahead.
Oh, I didn't mean to cut you off. All I was saying is this is just a component piece of a bill that is already been sent over to the Senate. It's House Bill 1290, and this is incorporating one component piece from that bill.
All right. So rather than taking us off the floor of the vote, to vote on this, I'd like to do a voice vote on this. All those in favor, unmute yourselves. All those in favor of the amendments, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Opposed. This is Neil.
Okay. The amendments carry. Okay, so on the House floor in 2 minutes.
Aye.